Hi, this is Will Kurt, and today I'm going to talk about visual literacy. Welcome to the show. I hope you have fun. Visual literacy is a somewhat slippery term. If you look it up, you'll find many different definitions. Something important to keep in mind is that this is not really an exact science. Reading images is much like reading text. While we can agree on many things being good or bad, for the most part, the details of the process are subjective. The first step is really simple. Just open your eyes. You do have to be a little meta here, though, as what we're going to be looking at is, well, is what we're looking at. So clearly the next part is to open up your mind a little and really think about what's happening. And of course, we'll need to think about what we're thinking about. So while these two main features of visual literacy are pretty straightforward, look and think, they can be a little tricky to wrap our heads and eyes around. Oh, and today's presentation is brought to you by crayons. Crayons are too easily relegated to our earlier careers when we sipped apple juice and slept on carpet squares. But really, they are some of the most powerful and fun, not to mention cheap, tools around. All great things must start as sketches, so don't be fearful of crayons. Our eyes are amazing. As you probably know, they are connected to our brain. And what is truly amazing is how much stuff our brain and eyes can get done before we even know it. I'm not going to cite anything here, but with the other research skills you should have acquired by this point, or you can just Google, you can find out just how amazingly fast our eyes and brain can process information. But when we're talking about visual literacy, this is actually a huge problem. In trying to understand anything, the most important thing is to stop and ask, what does this mean? But our brains and eyes together are so fast, it's easy for us to miss some of the subtleties. This is where looking at what we're looking at and thinking about what we're thinking about come into play. We have to be able to get in between our eyes and our brain in order to really understand all of what's happening. Let's start with an example. What is this? It's a person smiling. Okay, next slide. Wait a second. That's amazing. How do we know that? All we have here is a circle and an arch and some lines. That's pretty easy, right? But how does this work? To be honest, I'm a crappy drawer, but we know a lot. This is a person, and we even know its emotional state, and its arms are waving. What's crazy is how dense this information is. Let me write that out for you, in crayon of course, and look at how much more crayon it takes. Now also look and take into account how much time it takes you to actually read this text versus reading the image. Ah, and there's that phrase, we used it, read an image. And now hopefully you're starting to see, though it happens in a fraction of a second, we do read images. Let's try some more. To start exploring how we can read an image, just like we can read text, let's look at an example. Let's see what we can do with this circle and two triangles. If we just draw two circles, plus 6 lines, and meow, just like magic, we have a cat. Okay, let's try that again. This time, we'll take 3 circles and 2 lines, and oink, we have a pig. And again, this time with 2 circles and 4 lines, and we have something much more sinister. Now let's look at the common feature of all of these, two circles. We would probably just say these are eyes, but that would be doing too much pre-processing between our eyes and our brain. Remember, we're trying to get in between them. So hopefully you can see some sort of language emerging here. Even though it happens much faster than you realize, you can see now, at least a little bit, that you are in fact actually reading these images. Okay, so now what we've done is made something from the same base as the two triangles and one circle, but purposely not drawn the two inner circles. This means something altogether different from the last 3 drawings, right? The things in the previous drawings have more in common with each other than this one does with them. But by adding those features to this drawing, now it has some feeling of the same previous 3. We've been able to anthropomorphize the sun, something we see all the time, but really, we do not think how this happens. But now we can do something even simpler. Watch as I drain this lake. Now it's a hole, and all I had to do was change crayons. One more time to show the magic of crayons. Here is spring, and here is fall. I can change seasons. I hope you're having fun. Let's do some more. Here we have 1 triangle and 4 rectangles, and we get a house. That's neat, but we can do other things. Add to that 1 circle, 1 triangle, and 4 lines, and it becomes a dollhouse. Do you see the magic here? We didn't do anything to the house. We just put something next to it, something else that we recognize. Take a moment to really take in how much your brain is doing in an instant. You have some pretty primitive shapes here, but you can tell a lot of information about what's going on. Now add to that 2 circles and 6 lines, and we have Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Your brain is adding a whole new set of things to the list of comparisons, but it doesn't take you more than a second to realize what's happening here. What's really interesting is if we add 1 rectangle. Now we've gotten all meta again. We're looking at what we're looking at, we're thinking about what we're thinking about, and now we're drawing drawings. So I hope you've seen that you really can read images, and that there really is a complex language to them. It turns out that if you think hard about what you've seen, you have enough to understand a great deal of design. You've seen how composition, color, and context can all radically change the meaning of images. That's it for the first part of this presentation.